welcome to Beef Cattle Institute's Ask the Experts, where our experts will answer your questions. Happy to have two good experts with me today, Dr. Bob Larson.
Hey, good morning, guys.
And Dr. Brian Lubers.
Good morning.
So we've got a great question for today, which I think will inspire some debate. And as they answer, they get up to 10 points for their answer. And today's question is, what is the best way to treat cattle when they're out on pasture? And I'm going to give you some options that they outlined in the question. Darting, roping, trailering them to a facility, or walking them to a facility, or doing nothing. Brian, I'm going to go to you first.
Okay, so everybody's favorite answer, it depends a little bit. I'm going to say I have two favorite options. My two favorite options are going to be getting them to a facility, either walking or trailering to a facility. And it depends a little bit on the disease. If you're asking about a foot rot case, I don't think it's fair to walk that animal a half mile to a facility, so trailering. And really, for me, it's kind of these are the best of the given options. Doing nothing is not an option, especially with diseases like foot rot. We know antibiotics are very effective. Roping can be a viable option if you have that skill set. I do not. And so in those cases, I think that's a very viable option. And darting it's a no-go for me. There's too many foreign objects found in packing plants. From a pharmacology perspective, I can't be assured that the product's actually getting into the animal. That's kind of a non-starter for me.
Excellent. So Brian starts out with 6 points, even though he lost one for saying it depends when he started, because I think the good distinction between type of cases, type of situation, what skills you have. Bob, I'm going to turn to you.
Yeah, I either hate this question or love this question because it is a difficult one. And a couple of things come to my mind though. Are we talking about calves or cows or bulls? Because then the answer becomes a little bit different between those and what disease is involved. In that, I would say I'm going to agree with Brian that I want to make sure that if I treat them, I get the product into them. So that means bring them to a facility or rope them. The roping, actually, I'm fine with. It's just that there's relatively few operations where that is really, really reasonable. But if that's reasonable, it's on my list. Otherwise, it's truck or trailer them or walk them to a facility. The other one is, depending on the disease, no treatment may be better than to not get the product. And that's why, and I know darting is popular, but I think it's because it makes me feel like I was accomplished my goal. And how do I know that I accomplished my goal? We know that many times the full dose does not get into the cattle. Many times we have either no dose because it bounces off or whatever, and we have some real beef quality assurance issues. So it's among those choices, it may be the quickest and easiest. And I usually like quickest and easiest, but not in this case, not when we're treating a disease.
Okay, so you both said, and a great answer, Bob, because I think both of you agreed on the darting, and you said it may depend on the disease. There are times I may decide to do nothing, but both of you said trailering to the facility is an option. That implies that I don't have facilities in the pasture, so give me some help on how do I get those, and let's say calves in this case. I've got to get a calf loaded in the pasture. How's that going to happen?
Well, there's a couple ways to do that. Depending, and just for note, Bob did say depending, so keep that in mind. One thing, it depends on how severe the case is. It might be something where, if you can put out feed in a pen set, let them come up on their own, eat, close the gate, you got them at least in some sort of enclosure. It might be using portable panels and horses to corral them into something and then loading them on the trailer. If they're docile show heifers, they may just load up on their own. And so again, I'm trying to avoid the D word here. It matters which of those factors come into play for that specific situation.
Well, and I think Brian really pointed out how difficult this can be, particularly say I'm by myself. Well, it's difficult to set up panels and get, there's so many, and that is why darting is so popular, it is so much easier to implement. And I'm going to stick with it, the answer. The problem is all the other options besides darting are difficult.
Yeah, and
And-
sometimes you have to do the hard thing. So I think great discussion there, guys. Not an easy answer. Brian ended up finishing with 8 and Bob finished with 7. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions, you can send them at bci@ksu.edu.